Okay, today I'm going to teach you about filters and adjustment layers in Photoshop. We're going to create an image inspired by Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol was an artist during pop art time period, and a couple of his most famous ones are his Marilyn Monroe that is repeated over and over. This wasn't created in Photoshop, but we're going to create it and make it look similar to this in Photoshop. The soup cans is another example of one that is very famous by him. So what we're going to do is learn about adjustment layers. This image that I found online works really, really good for this to explain what each adjustment layer does. So the number here coincides with the number of the block that's in here, so like the 13 is posterized. So this is nice to be able to look at, so I have it on the assignment for you to go and take a peek at. What this does is show you what each one will do. So the brightness contrast adjustment layer will just brighten it up basically and add a little bit of darkness and lightness to it. You can see that some do relatively similar things. The levels and curves are similar in what it looks like in the flower. You can see differences in the background. What levels does is to set the white, black, and midpoints to create the brightness levels, and curves manipulates the curve shape to adjust the brightness and contrast. Both have to do with brightness, but do just a little bit differently. Exposure, I just wanted to mention on here, the exposure, sometimes when pictures are too light or too dark, people think that they need to use the exposure to change it. If you use that, sometimes when you darken a picture, it can look a little bit muddy, and when you lighten a picture, it can look very pastel, and you don't want to get that kind of look to a picture. So the levels and curves are ones that I want you to learn about and try eventually here when you need to darken and lighten pictures. The ones that I'm going to have you do today for the project is vibrance, hue saturation, black and white, the invert, posterize, and threshold are going to be the 7 that you're going to do. I'll list those underneath here right after this. So going out to Photoshop then. So what I want you to do is open up the picture that you're going to work on, and the first thing that we want to do is change it to a square picture. So I've chosen my crop tool on the side here. You will probably have one of whatever your last preset was up here, so make sure you double check that before you start anything, that it's the right size that you want to work with. I'm going to change this into a 2" by 2" by 300 resolution. Make sure anytime that you're doing anything that's meant for print that you keep the resolution at 300. People have asked in the past whether or not if 300 is good, isn't 400 or 600 better. That's more information that a printer actually needs, so 300 is the best to keep it at. And so once I do that, then I can use my crop tool, and I don't need to hold my shift key down to pull from corner to corner because I have set that preset up there of my own. And then once I've selected around it, I can use my arrow keys. I want to make this kind of equal between the top here, between my hair on the top and the necklace in there. So once I have that where I want to do it, then hit my check mark, and that changes it into a 2 by 2 by 300. So what I want to do is open it up by just double clicking and say OK. And what that does is open it so that the layers will be able to lay onto it nicely and change the filters and the adjustment layers. Then the first thing that I want to do is probably do a file save as and name this with square on it or something so that I know I could change the whole name of the picture to square or whatever I want to. And I'm going to keep it a PSD because I want it to still have the memory of the different things once I'm working on this picture, and save it where I know where it's going to be. So keep it as a Photoshop file and then click save and OK. And then I have a square one in case from day to day when I go back to work on it, then I don't have to crop it again and take the chance of it not cropping the same as the last time. Or if something happens that I go back too far on the history or it drops something along the way, I can always go back and open up the square picture again to work on. So now I want to have a background to work on. So I'm going to go up here to File. You haven't done this before, to start a whole new blank document to work on. I'm going to go File and New. And it will probably come up with pixels right away. First of all, I'm going to name it, and since this is, I'm going to name it Warhol, and you could put your name and Warhol if you wanted to, or something, so that you know what you're working on. And change the pixels 2 inches, and right now it's remembering what I did here, so just change it. Go ahead and do 10 by 10. So this is a good print size, and the resolution of 300 is fine. RGB color is good. Don't make it anything else, otherwise it could be a problem. So, and the transparent, you will probably have background color chosen right away. Right now the background color is white, so it'll probably be fine to use, but be careful, especially if the background color is some kind of weird color like neon green or something. I also like to do transparent most of the time. So what transparent does is make it so that I can see, first of all, what's going on, and then when I print it, if something were to show through in a background or whatever, it would just be transparent instead of a color showing through. And then say OK, and now I have an image to work on. And again, these checkers mean that it's clear, so that's good. So I'm going to go back to my picture, and the first thing that I'm going to do is show you about filters. So under any of these, you have all of these different ones that can show up. So the first one I'm going to do is artistic and neon glow. Now, because I had white over here, this is your glow color right here, so you can see that it's glowing purple right now. I could change that to a different color if I wanted to, and it will change colors along the way. Change it to blue, show you what that does. Now the white against the white is too much. I don't want to have that, so I'm going to say cancel right now, and I'm going to change my color out here first. I'm going to change it to red, and I could change it to anything I wanted. I'm just going to change it to red. I'm going to go back up to the filter again, and artistic and neon glow, and then I can choose my glow color here and choose what I like. I do kind of like that purple with it, so I'm going to keep it. And then on here I have all of the options of changing all of this as much as I want. I want to have some, I don't want to go too far and make myself look like a demon. I'm going to just change a little bit here so that it has some glow, and that looks good. And again, the glow brightness I can change too, and it will do more or less. So I do want to have the glow showing, and that looks pretty good. And then say OK. And then so that you can track this and kind of keep track of what's going on things, I want you to put some text on there and use what the name of the tool was. If you don't remember what it was, especially as you start doing this more and more, you can go to your history and look at whatever the last thing was. So neon glow is what I'm working with. Now if I choose my text, I need to look at the color that's up here. Right now it would be red, which wouldn't work at all because it would be red over red and not show up. So I'm going to choose a different color. I'm just going to choose black so it shows up nicely. And I'm going to choose text that I want to work with. I've found that 12 point works pretty good on this size, so go ahead and change that. I could see if I can set that, but it makes it stay regular, and that's fine. Then I'm going, and here I have it so that it's coming out from the aligning the text to the left instead of centered. So I'm going to put it there and type in neon glow, and I could hit my move tool and change that wherever I wanted. I kind of like where that is, pretty close there. And just choose another tool so that it actually applies. It doesn't matter what tool you use, just so that it finishes its thought of whatever it's doing. Now what I want to do is select everything that's on there. So the first thing I want to do is select all layers. If I was to have selected right now with just the neon glow layer being blue so that I knew that that was selected, all that would come across would be the word neon glow. I want to make sure that it's the picture and the word neon glow that's coming. Then I need to choose my marquee tool and pull from corner to corner, and then I can go up here to edit and copy merged. Make sure it's not just copy, it's because it has two selected, it doesn't even give me the option to. So I'm going to do copy merged and then go over my other picture and paste it, and then hit my move tool and move it up to the corner and go back to here. Now on my history, I'm just going to reset it back to where make a layer was, and that will take it back to where it's cropped and also when it was open so that you could work on it. So go back to the filters, and I'm just going to choose another one. I'll go down to sketch. Actually, let's do stylize. I could make it find edges and make it look more like a cartoon. And that one doesn't have any options to it, so that one I can just do from there. And again, I can put my text on there. I'm going to choose a different color just to make it interesting and make that red. and choose a different font also to make it interesting. Doesn't really matter which. And do Find Edges and hit my check mark. Again, do Select All Layers, choose my marquee, pull from corner to corner, copy merged, click on the other picture, edit, paste, hit the move tool, move it up to where it should be, and go back to here. I'm going to choose a different layer, so go back up to make layer. I'm going to go to filter and choose one that I can see some different possibilities with, so I'm going to go to sketch and maybe choose chalk and charcoal. So up here, what I wanted to show you, obviously you just do the same thing over and over again, and anytime you see any things down here to choose from, you can move these around and change it as much as you want. You can also, when you get that that options box that comes up, you can also go in here and choose between, this is the same things that are under each of the filters up here. It's just a quick shortcut basically to do them. So you can kind of work around and check what each of these looks like and choose whichever ones that you want to along the way. I'm going to go ahead and keep this as a chalk and charcoal. I'm going to choose my text again, apply it first, say OK. Choose my text, and again, just choose a different color so that it will show. Choose a different text, and type it in. So chalk and charcoal, and again, hit my check, and select all layers, edit. Oh, I didn't choose across. Use the marquee tool, choose across, edit, copy merged, click on the other picture, edit, paste, move tool, move it up. Okay, so you get the idea. 17 of those. Play around with the different filters and get a feel for them. The other thing I want to show you about is adjustment layers though. So I'm going to go back to layers, well, history first of all, on the right picture. Go back to my history, reset it to make a layer again. Now over here on adjustments, all of these that you have right here were what you were working on up here. They're all listed here too. The difference between this on the menu bar up here and the adjustment bars, the adjustments over here, is that up here it actually applied it onto the image itself and it changed the pixels of the image, which was kind of nice because it's a quick way to work on it. So that's why I had you learn that first. But the adjustment layers are really nice because if I go back to my layers to see what happens now, if I were to change this to, I'm going to use the hue saturation and show you what that one does. So if I was to change my coloring on this, each one of these slider bars does different things. Hue will change the color itself that's being added into it. Saturation changes how much of the color, so you can make it look like an antique kind of picture, or you can go up to where it looks more like crazy. So I'm going to keep this one crazy and show you really quick. But I also wanted to show you lightness and darkness. Again, be careful that you don't get too pastel or even blank it out completely, or get too dark. It'll look different. Now if you want to reset this to where it was, you can just select across and hit 0. I also want to show you colorize though. Colorize is like a duotone, and duotone, what that means is two colors, and it just changes it to those two colors, so black and white and the color itself. So I'm going to take the colorize off and keep it as this saturated picture so that I could do. So each one of those would be a different possibility. I'm going to put my text on there again, and again choose a different color that will show good. I want to choose something that will kind of match with the picture, so maybe I don't know, do it a bright kind of orangish color. Let's do that, and it will show up on it. So put that on there, and this was the hue saturation layer. Now the nice thing about this is that if I come back to this someday in the future after I've saved out of this and kept it as a PSD, make sure that you do keep these as PSDs as you're working on them. Only JPEG when you need to hand them in or do something else to it, but always keep a PSD. because when I come back to this, if I didn't like this, I could actually just trash this right off of there. So if I show you well, I'm going to keep it there for a second while you know how to copy it across. So same thing that you do the select all layers and marquee and everything, and that will take all of the things across. So make sure that you copy that in. So let me show you if I take the hue saturation off of there. Then it resets it to the picture the way it was. And I could go in and I could put another adjustment on it. And by the way, the adjustments are up here, and if that window isn't showing up, it's under Window and Adjustments, and then it will. The other way you can put these on, which is kind of a shortcut, again, is down here at the bottom. There is a add adjustment layer to it. So you could choose this here, and it would do the exact same thing again. So I could reset that to somewhere close to what I had it before. So it's a nice way to work on things and be able to change things later on, and I could have done a different adjustment layer on it too. So just keep repeating those until you fill the whole thing with the pictures. Don't forget to move, and after you're done with moving them, if you need to move a layer around, if you want to set colors, like right now I don't really like the two more black and white pictures next to each other. If I wanted to change those around, what I would do is hit my move tool, and maybe I could put this in the middle and change this one. I just have to choose my layers that I want to work with and move those around. You're going to have 25 layers going on, so you're going to have to scroll up and down to be able to see everything, but if I accidentally got something into the wrong spot, I could use my my arrow keys again to put it into the right spot.